Well, I would like to start by recognizing the presence here today of the distinguished Chief Minister of Tamilnadu, and special his recognition to the life and contribution of Fidel Castro Ruz, and also his position in solidarity with Cuba. I would like also to start by thanking the General Secretary of the PCM, Baby, for his presence here, for the invitation to me to participate in this important meeting. Also, the statement made by the Secretary of the PCM, CPIM and CPA, and also the President of the Tamilnadu's Committee in Solidarity with Cuba. Thank you to all of you for your solidarity with our country. Well, dear friends, I am very honored and very proud that my first visit to Chennai and to Tamil Nadu is taking on the occasion of this important activity today, commemorating the life of Fidel Castro Ruz, his 99th birth anniversary that is going to take place tomorrow, but also for this contribution that you have made today in solidarity with Cuba, with this financial contribution that will help the Cuban public health system, which means to elderly, to children, to pregnant, to all the Cuban population, in concrete medicine, active pharmaceutical ingredients or raw materials in order to provide medication to our people. Thank you so much on behalf of the Cuban people. Thank you so much. Well, to talk about Fidel Castro will take too much time. And well, today, the present speaker also has made their explanation about the life of Fidel Castro. He was born in a very small village in the east part of Cuba, in the current province of Holguín. And he was always well motivated for the social conditions of the people that lived surrounded this village in Holguín, at that time Oriente. Then he went to the university, he studied law, and he was participating in all the political life in the university, in the student organization, in the political parties. He ran as a candidate for the presidency of the Republic in 1952, but the coup d'etat made that the dictator, Batista, at that time, interrupt his possibility to run. And the only way for his generation to build the freedom for the Cuban population was the struggle army. And he took this way. 1 year later, July 26 of 1953, he was leading the attack to Moncada Barrack. And you know the history. After this event, Fidel became a leader of the Cuban Revolution. After that, he went to prison, to jail. He went to exile in Mexico. He came back to Cuba in the Grand Mayate, to the Sierra Maestra. He was leading the guerrilla in the Sierra Maestra until the victorious entrance in Havana on January 1959. So it took 5 years, 5 months, and 5 days from the attack to Moncada Barrack until the triumph of the Cuban Revolution. And he promised what he said to the Cuban population. When he was in Mexico, he said, next year I will go to Cuba and we are going to defeat the dictatorship of Batista. And he did it. He and many other brave and young people, revolutionary people, most of them paid their life in order to give us the liberty, the independence, the sovereignty that we are enjoying today in Cuba. After the revolution, for more than 57 years, 10 months and 24 days, until November 24, 1916, when he passed away, Fidel dedicated every day of his life to preserve the conquest of the Cuban Revolution and the freedom of our people. It was every day. He suffered many attempts of assassination, almost 700 attempt of assassination. Also the strong blockade that started from the same day of the Cuban Revolution. For more than 60 years, we have suffered this strong blockade, and also many other permanent aggressions against our revolution. But Fidel remains as an example. He's an example that a small country, even 90 miles from the United States, could stand up against these big empires. And when the people are determined to defend their ideas, their truth, their values, their independence, we can resist any kind of pressure for the big powers. This is the example that Fidel gave, not only for the Cuban people, but for all the humanity. And this is what they are doing today, to pay tribute to the memory to Fidel Castro. Well, the second thing that I would like to highlight today is that the blockade that the Cuban is suffering today is not the same blockade from the last 60 years. It's different. It's an economic war that Cuba is suffering. Every day Cuba is suffering economic bombing under our people, because this administration, the Trump administration, during his first term, he took more than 243 specific measures in order to strangle the Cuban economy. And during this administration, from January this year up to now, they have adopted more than 25 different measures in order to avoid any economic income to the Cuban economy, any financial transaction. They included Cuba in the list of countries that supposedly sponsor terrorists, which is totally unfair, because not only Cuba doesn't support any terrorist action against any people, against any country. Cuba has been for more than 60 years a victim of the terrorist attacks organized from the US territory for the extreme right groups located in Miami, in Florida, and financing by the US government. It is a reality, but they are doing everything in order to make a collapse of the Cuban economy and to present the current government, the Cuban government, as responsible for the situation that they are creating in our country. What is the idea? To put the Cuban population against this government, against our government. The government is fighting every day to preserve the conquest of the Cuban Revolution, to preserve the public and free education to all our people, the public and free healthcare system that we provide to the people, the practice of culture, education, of the social security that our people is enjoying in Cuba. This is the idea, because the plan is to recover Cuba, the Cuba that was before the Cuban Revolution, when the US was the owner of more than 80% of the Cuban land. That the most important strategic sector of the Cuban economy belonged to the US companies. It is the idea to recover that time. They don't care about the people. If they care about the Cuban people, if they really care about it, they will relieve the blockade tomorrow. Because those who are suffering the blockade is the Cuban people. It's that people that I mentioned, the elderly, the pregnant, the children in our country. Why I would like to explain that today is more important than ever to denounce the US economic war against our country. We are going to present once again in the United Nations, in the General Assembly of the United Nations next October, the resolution against the US blockade. And the international community for more than 25 years have supported this resolution condemning the blockade, which means that this policy of the blockade, of the permanent aggression against the Cuban Revolution is totally isolated. Only two countries supported the position of the US. Was Israel, its own, and Ukraine. Just two. That is, of course, very close to US. But the rest of the international community, including its allies, European and so on, they are recognized that it's totally injustice to support this position against Cuba. So, Conrad, thank you so much for this activity today. Thank you so much for the tribute to Fidel Castro Ruz, the undefeated commander-in-chief of the Cuban Revolution. Thank you so much for your financial contribution. I am sure that they will give our people more energy to resist, to fight, and to win. Long live the solidarity, long live Fidel, long live Cuba. Thank you, my friend.